Shall we turn to some questions from the media? Can we start with the BBC?
Thank you, Prime Minister. Chris Mason from BBC News. The story of the last year is one of you trying everything to improve your political fortunes, being the agent of change, being the face of continuity, and the polls suggest that nothing has worked. Given that your party is continuing to take lumps out of each other, and indeed lumps out of you, is it time for you to say to them explicitly to put a sock in it?
Well, the Conservative Party last night demonstrated that they're completely united in wanting to stop the boats. And this bill passed with an overwhelming majority in Parliament. But more broadly, last year was difficult. It's difficult for the country. We're still recovering from the impacts of COVID, the legacy of backlogs in our public services, also the impact of the war in Ukraine on people's bills. But at the start of this year, we are pointing in the right direction, and we have made progress. And that's why we've got to stick to the plan, because that's how we'll deliver the long-term change that the country needs. That's how we'll build a brighter future for our children and renewed pride in our country. And the plan is working. And you can just look at what's happened on inflation, for example. We set out a clear plan. We've delivered on that plan. And because inflation has been halved from 11% to 4%, we're now able to cut people's taxes.
Prime Minister Robert Heston, when you announced a year ago your pledge to stop the boats, the British people didn't think that meant reduce them. They thought that meant reduce them to negligible levels by the general election. That's not now going to happen, is it?
Thank you, Robert. The British people will obviously judge the progress we're making, but I'm actually proud of the progress that we've made tackling this issue. I always said, when I made that first speech, I think you were there, I said, look, this is a difficult problem. Right? It's not going to be solved overnight. There's not one single silver bullet that will fix it. But I'm a Prime Minister who wants to take on the biggest challenges that we face as a country, even if they are difficult, even if they will take time to fix, because that's what leadership is about. I'm not going to take the easy way out. And if you look at our track record, for the first time, the number of small boat arrivals into this country went down. It went down by over a third last year. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because we put a lot of work in and we made a lot of decisions.
Prime Minister, you say that the party's united, you've won the vote, but several letters of no confidence in you have been submitted on the back of the events of last night. What is your message to those colleagues who look at this bill and think that you, with now trust-level poll ratings, are the wrong man for the job?
I said, look, I'm interested in sticking with the plan that I set out to the British people, because that plan is working. Right? It is delivering real change, and if we stick with that plan, we'll be able to build a brighter future for everyone's families in this country, a renewed sense of pride in our nation, and the progress that we have made is demonstrable. Right? As I said, last year was a tricky year. Recovering from the legacy of COVID, backlogs in our public services, the impact of the war in Ukraine on energy prices, but we are now pointing in the right direction. Progress is being made. We've now had 5 months where wages have been rising faster than prices. People have started to see the benefit in mortgage rates of those coming down. Inflation has fallen, as I said, from over 11% to 4%. And because of that progress, we were able to deliver a very significant tax cut for tens of millions of people in work. Now, obviously, progress on the boats is there, but we need to go further. But like my main message is, the plan is working. Right? Across the board, you can see that progress is being made, and our job is to stick to that plan, deliver for the country, and the alternative, as I said, is clear. You know, Keir Starmer has had 4 years to set out an alternative, and he hasn't done so. Right? This is someone who is just sniping from the sidelines, can't tell you what he's going to do. Crucially, can't tell you how he's going to pay for a £28 billion green spending spree, which is just going to mean everyone's taxes are going to go up at a time that we're now starting to cut them.
The habit of the Lords is not to actually stop legislation, particularly the government, the all sort of majority, but to delay it. So assuming you do get your bill put into law by the spring, can you 100% guarantee a plane will take off to Rwanda before the general election?
Look, you can look at my actions. We had the Supreme Court ruling middle of November, and within a matter of weeks after that happened, we negotiated and signed a treaty with Rwanda and brought fresh legislation to Parliament that had its first vote as well. and was supported, right? So that gives you a sense, I hope, of the urgency with which we are attacking this problem. I've been crystal clear that we want to do this as quickly as possible. You can see the urgency with which James and Michael and the team are operating, and it's now up to the House of Lords. Right. I think the country has been very clear that this is a priority. We've been very clear that this is a priority for us, and Parliament, the elected Parliament, has also, with a very strong majority last night, supported this legislation. Next, go to the Daily Mail.
Thanks, Pim. When's the first flight to Rwanda going to go? Because people are sick of empty promises on this. You said before it's going to be Easter. Is it still going to be Easter? Has it slipped to the summer? Can you even guarantee that a flight will go this year?
Yeah. Look, Jason, what I can tell you is I want to see this happen as soon as practically possible. Of course I do, right? And that's why James and Michael and the team worked incredibly hard after we got the Supreme Court judgment in the middle of November to not just sign a brand new treaty with Rwanda, negotiate and sign, but then also introduce new legislation into Parliament and have it voted on before Christmas. That happened in a matter of weeks, right? So that should give you a sense that we are not messing around here, because we're also frustrated and fed up, right? I share the frustration the British people have. I said I wanted to end this legal merry-go-round and just get on with this at this point. So we're working as fast and as quickly as we can, and the question really is for the House of Lords, right? And that's the question, is will the House of Lords understand the country's frustration, see the will of the elected House, and move as quickly as we have to support this legislation so we can get it on the statute books and then get flights up and running. And as I said previously, we're already doing the operational work that's required to make sure that we can get flights up.
32% of those whose asylum claims were withdrawn last year have disappeared. Now, we hear lots about you being a details man. So how do you expect to find them? And are you concerned that the Rwanda bill might result in thousands more desperate people disappearing in the UK to avoid being deported?
So, Peter, I'm not sure exactly what numbers you're referring to. I had seen some yesterday.
From the Home Office to the Home Affairs Select Committee after...
So the vast majority of people in that cohort of 17,000 either have already been removed or are in the process of moving on or have made another claim. So that's what's going on there. And look, more generally, because there's been some comment about this, I'm not going... I think it's absolutely the right thing that once someone's asylum claim has been denied, they absolutely should be withdrawn from the process. They should not have access to public support, to public funds. And if they are then at that point not reporting back to the Home Office as they're meant to, then immigration enforcement should absolutely do everything that they can to identify these people, detain them and send them back. And that's what we've done last year. So we had a 70% increase in illegal immigration enforcement raids, thousands of arrests, and we returned over 20,000 people. And I think that's what the British people would expect us to do. Like when people are in the process and ultimately their claim is denied, like very quickly, people would expect us to be able to identify them, find them, and where we can, return them. And that is exactly what we're doing. And I think that's the right thing to do. But again, doesn't happen by accident. It's because we have a plan. We put that plan in place and we worked hard to deliver it. And that plan is working. And we will continue to do that this year. As I said, Rwanda is important, but all these other things are important too. And we're delivering across the board. And that is the progress that would be unwound.
What are the consequences for the rebels in your party? If they don't lose the whip, why not? Can they rebel without any consequences?
I think on this issue, the Conservative Party last night was united in wanting to stop the boats. And you saw that very clearly. And it's right that we debate this, and that's because people are frustrated and passionate about this issue, right? Because the country is frustrated and exercised about this issue, and they want it fixed. So it's understandable that people have got strong opinions. It's understandable that they want to do everything necessary to solve this issue. I share that frustration, and I share that energy, and that's why we are doing everything that we can. But last night, the Conservative Party came together and is absolutely united in wanting to stop the boats. And the contrast could not be clearer, because the Labour Party, to a person, opposed this legislation. Right? So the question and the focus now has got to be on our plan, which is already delivering. We are already making progress, with the numbers down last year by over a third, or what the Labour Party are saying, where there is absolutely no plan, would take us back to square one. And that's worse, because I don't actually believe Keir Starmer wants to resolve this issue. As I said, when he was asked if he would stick with the Rwanda scheme, even when it was up and running and working, he said he would still scrap it.